Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening to everybody. Another crowd here. Good to see everyone on this slightly cool evening. Approval of minutes. Everyone's had a chance to look through those, and no additions or changes, and they stand approved. Report of Town Manager, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mayor Stanley, members of council. I want to remind folks, Spring Cleanup Week is scheduled to take place on April 6th through 10th. This is a semi-annual event that largely involves the pickup of bulk goods at the curbside for customers who pay the refuse collection fee. If anyone has specific questions, please contact the Public Works Department directly, 587-6081. Also wanted to give a brief update with regard to the Downtown Action Strategy. The Town Attorney has been incorporating the amendments to the proposed vacant property registration ordinance that were suggested by Council. Once that's complete, we will have a public hearing and review by Council. Also, staff is planning to install string lights on North Bridge Street parallel to the roadway along light poles. Also wanted to pass along for the benefit of the public that our most recent bill from AMP was $2.1 million, which is still higher than we would prefer, but down considerably from the previous month. So that's good news of a sort. Finally, I just wanted to recognize the contributions of Ms. Sarah Broughton, who passed away recently. Sarah was the first executive director of the Bauer Center, but she was far more than that. Along with her husband, Bruce Johansson, Sarah had great passion and concern for this community, and that was evident through her actions. I just ask that people remember Bruce and their family and your thoughts and prayers, and Sarah will be greatly and deeply missed. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Appearances before council. We have a couple here. First is Mr. Josh Lamy. Come on up, state your name, your address, and tell us what's on your mind. You'll have 3 minutes.
All right, Josh Lamy, 827 Shearer Avenue. I wanted to speak about your proposal to close Macon Street through traffic. We farm on multiple parts of the county, mostly on the Thaxton and Big Island side, and a little bit on the southern side of town. But we use Macon Street as a route to get from the Thaxton side over to more of the town side of stuff. We have a right-of-way to on-time road, and we use that pretty frequently to move ag equipment back and forth between different farms. And if you just looking at closing that, we do have a hayfield on Macon Street as well that is past the proposed area for the blockade to be put in, and that would keep us from accessing that. And then along with that, if it was closed, we would have to take that equipment up 460, which would put more stress on us and the possibility of putting us in the danger of being hit. And I know it hasn't been kept up, but for us, it's a pretty important route of access from from where we're at to the other side of town. So I'd just like you to take that in consideration before possibly closing that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next is Leslie Mahaffey. I think you know the routine.
Yes, sir, I do. Leslie Mahaffey, 1517 Woodland Road here in town. I know a lot of you see or hear of my Facebook post, but this one is going to be a little positive, and I wanted to let you know about it. Trying to find it on my phone. It'll take me a moment, please. All of you know that the Bedford Vietnam Veterans Memorial was dedicated November 22nd. It's very, very important for our town. I'm very thankful that the memorial has been added into the walking tour and also listed as a community site on the new World War II Heritage City map. So I thank you for that very much. Since the dedication, it has come to our attention that 4 of our Vietnam veterans that attended the dedication have since passed. That was David Thomas. He passed away December 6th. Owen Fox Overstreet passed away January the 12th. Gene Smith, who was a deacon at my church, he passed away January 24th. And just a few days ago, Roger Clark passed away 3/16. And in that post, I just want to read that to you. Today, we're saddened to hear of another Bedford Vietnam veteran who's passed away since our dedication. Each of these veterans were in attendance and were so proud to be there. It was important to the members of the Bedford Vietnam Veterans Memorial Board to ensure that this monument was dedicated on the 50th anniversary to the end of the war and wait no longer to have it placed. Like veterans of other wars, many do not live long enough to see these memorials dedicated to the cause for which they served. We have heard from many veterans, Vietnam veterans, that this memorial is healing for them and their families. We see many people stopping to take pictures, leave a coin of remembrance, and to reflect. Soon the lamppost banners of our 14 fallen sons of Bedford will be back up. If you didn't get a chance to take pictures at the dedication, you should be able to do that very soon. Rest in peace, soldiers. You will not be forgotten. And also, some of the comments that families and friends of Bedford responded, they all serve quietly and with honor. Rest in peace. Thank you, Leslie. I just saw the memorial Saturday for the first time. It is beautiful. That was Bobby Key's widow that wrote that. And I know many of you knew Bobby Key. And one of the family members said, "Thank you to each one. My condolences to each one and their families. My dad was so proud of this day." Then one more, Wanda Toms, that's down here with the insurance office, and that doesn't look like I got all of hers copied here. This memorial is one beautiful tribute to our Vietnam vets, and it went on a little bit further. But I just wanted to say thank you for the ones that participated. I know one received a Vietnam pin that day, and there are veterans that are here. And we just thank you. People do stop. It draws people in. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And speaking of David Thomas, we would have recognitions at our church, and he could still get in his original uniform.
Yes, his Navy uniform.
His Navy uniform, correct. And he had it on that day of the ceremony that his picture was taken.
He did.
And that his family took several pictures of him.
Right.
But you're right, they'll all be missed, but they're going to start fading away. Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. All right, council comments. Doug, what you got?
I don't have anything other than thank everybody for being here today.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for being here today. Josh, for your input on the Macon Street thing, Leslie, for your Vietnam stuff. Also ask that y'all keep Bruce in y'all's prayers and stuff and everything for the loss of Sarah. She is going to be a big loss to our community, and she will be missed.
Again, thank everyone for being here. We've had a lot of discussions about electric rates and the town's association with that, and I got curious just to see what the rates would be if I was on AEP. Actually, AEP comes in just a little bit higher. $7.57 higher. So one, that tells me that the rates that are being charged by Bedford Electric are compatible with the area. If not a little bit less expensive. And I don't know if all of the members up here remember, I think most of them would, but we've had testimony in this very chamber that, that $5 made a big difference in some people's budgets. And I think we were discussing at that time about raising a charge from $5 to $10 or something. And we had several comments about that extra $5 would hurt. Well, here's $7 worth of savings, so that's got to help. So in as much as, yes, electric rates, our bills were high. Everybody's was. But if you move out, just outside in either direction of the Bedford Electric's grid, you're going to be paying more. And from what I've seen in the past, getting service to, if you have down power lines or something, that timeline is going to be a little bit longer if you are on somebody else's grid. We had a very cold spell, and we used a whole lot more. That's why, Bart, on average for the winter, what would you ballpark our bill would be for the town? $1 million?
Too much, anyway. Well, and I'm going to quote Mr. Wagner, when we did the rate study, he said based on the rates that the adjustments we made in September, it would be likely that we would see bills of $2 million in the winter months, and that's what we did last month.
Right. So, I've said it before, and this isn't an issue that's originating here. Like I said, you've got Southside, you've got AEP, everybody has rate increases. And, we just took a while for us to, get those rates, comparable with everyone else's. And, it's a big ugly sandwich, and we all got to take a bite at it from time to time. And where does it start? My perception, it started 35 years ago or 40 years ago when government regulations started getting tighter and tighter. And, we have some electric energy producers that are going out of business because of government regulations, because of rising cost of labor, just a whole myriad of things. And the environment is such where those people that have the money to invest in those things, they don't want to invest in them because it's just not a stable environment. So you have fewer people making and generating electricity and a whole heck of a lot more people needing it. Supply and demand. That's the bottom line. I was up here last week, and a fellow come in and he was unhappy with his bill. Well, one, yelling at the staff that that collects the fees and stuff for this, they didn't have anything to do with this. When you come in here, have a little professionalism about the way you address our staff. But he was going on and on about how high his electric bill was, and yes, and we all have high electric bills. And his comment was something to the effect of, I don't live in some big mansion. I live in a trailer. Well, bottom line is certain structures are a little bit more energy efficient than others. I grew up living in a mobile home, and we watched our light bill go up, especially during the winter. Again, we just learn from this particular winter, and summer's coming around. AC is going to drive our electric bills up. So we need to start planning now for that and make our homes a little more energy efficient. It'll pay off in the long run. That's all I got.
Very good. Mike?
I'd like to welcome everybody here, especially watching by TV on the YouTube. And, like I said, I've been stopped several times about, different, especially, like the light bill and other things going on in the town. But I listen to y'all's comment and I try to answer everything as best of my knowledge. But again, welcome. We welcome y'all's comments.
Yeah, I just reiterate, thanks for being here today, and I'm going to I don't want to be the dead dog. I'm going to segue off of what Vice Mayor Updike talked about, just a little bit about electricity, simply because, I know it's something that it's a pain that we all had to endure, but I also wanted just to emphasize what the town itself does. Last month, the town manager, Mr. Warner, mentioned that we had a $3.5 million electric bill that was sent to the town. We only had $2.3 million of that recovered in revenues. So the town itself ate $1.2 million of that electric bill. So that was not passed on to residents. So I wanted just to emphasize that, the town is doing something about it. Unfortunately, we only have limited funds, and we won't be able to do that forever. But this time, we were able to subsidize that extra $1.2 million. Also, just wanted to kind of mention, last year there was a group of young adults, actually from 6th grade up to about 19 years old. They came to Bedford. It's a group called Mission Serve, and they came to Bedford and renovated 8 homes in Bedford. They donated, they volunteered a week of their time. They came to Bedford. We had enough money donated for materials, and again, they were able to do 8 homes for those that are in need. So this year they're coming back. They want to just kind of focus on Bedford. Their goal is to try to do 10 homes this year, but the average cost to do each home is about $2,000. And it's not like they don't really do a lot. They replaced roofs, they repaired porches, they painted, they did a lot of great work. So I just wanted to throw that out. If anybody here, anybody listening, if you just pass the word that the town will accept donations for Mission Serve, and you've just got to make the check available, to the town of Bedford, and in the memo just put Mission Serve. And I know that's asking a lot when we just paid hundreds of dollars in electric bills, but there's plenty of people in the town that are in need, and it would definitely help 10 folks. Also, just this is the last council meeting before Easter. I just want to encourage folks that on April 5th, if you don't go to church, just maybe think about darkening the door of a church and go on Easter Sunday. And lastly, I just wanted to kind of emphasize again, the April 21st is the last day to vote on the constitutional amendment for redistricting. I encourage you to get out and vote. That's what the democratic process is for, and just educate yourself on actually what this constitutional amendment does. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Very good comments. I have nothing other than to say what Mr. Warner said earlier, recognizing Sarah Bratton, who passed away recently, the wife of Bruce Johansson, who was a town councilman. As Mr. Warner said, she was the original executive director for the Bauer Center for many years, and she was not paid for that position. She was dedicated to the Bedford community. She loved Bedford. She volunteered in quite a number of things, did whatever she could do, and she was a very kind person and liked to help people. And that will be her legacy. What she did and how much she cared about Bedford. And I just want to pass that on. All right, report of council committees, Mr. Updike.
All right. Had a number of things come up with the Streets Committee. here lately, a lot of concerns and feedback on the banners and placements of those in the Centertown area. We have I think we have a really good rough draft of a resolution that we're going to.
Something to start with.
Something to start with.
Right.
And that'll probably come before council here very soon.
Very good. Thank you. No revisions to the agenda that I'm aware of. Next is a public hearing, conditional use permit for homestay at tax map 133-1-2B-10, 1307 Boone Drive in the R1 district. Mr. Warner.
Notice is given of a public hearing to be held by Town Council at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, March 17th in the Council Hall of the Town Municipal Building for the purpose of hearing a request for a conditional use permit received from W. Courtney Holdren for a homestay use located at 1307 Boone Drive. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. Anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall now have an opportunity to express his or her views at the hearing.
All right, this public hearing is now open for anyone who would like to come up and speak. For it, about it. All right.
Hello, I'm Courtney Holdren, on 1307 Boone Drive property. Did you all get my email that I sent out? Did it make sense? Any questions on that? I think that was pretty self-explanatory and where we're coming from, and I'd like to just thank y'all for the consideration.
And we may call you back up when we
Sure.
discuss it at new business.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
All right, sure.
Appreciate it, Courtney. All right, no one else? This hearing is closed. No consent agenda, no old business, new business. Resolution, conditional use permit for homestay at tax map number 133-1-2B-10, 1307 Boone Drive in the R1 district. Mr. Warner.
On January 7th, 2026, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to decide whether property located at 1307 Boone Drive can be recommended for approval of a conditional use permit for a homestay change of use. The applicant and one adjacent owner spoke at the public hearing. The citizen that spoke owns an adjoining house that has an existing driveway back to the subject parcel partially through their property as shown on a plat he received when he purchased the property. While not objecting to the request, he was concerned about unclear access and liability for visitors to the driveway portion that is on their property and not within the deeded private 20-foot wide right-of-way from Boone Drive. The applicant noted the driveway had been there for many years. The planning commissioners discussed if a condition can be placed related to the concern of the neighbor for the driveway that encumbers his property. The members determined that since it was a change of use, they could place a condition that the unshared driveway must reflect the plat. Motion passed unanimously to recommend approval of the request with the one condition. The condition was that access to the proposed homestay would be moved within the platted easement beyond the shared portion. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider whether or not to approve a resolution for a conditional use permit for a homestay use at 1307 Boone Drive. Council may amend or impose conditions if needed.
I'm not going to ask for a motion quite yet, but what questions do you all have about this? Anything you're not sure about or want to ask?
We did have a few emails. I didn't know if all the council members had a chance to see those.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Ms. Zirkle and I had a conversation after the Planning Commission meeting in which we had a discussion about the condition relating to the access, and you'll see it reflected in the resolution that you see before you tonight.
Okay.
Rather than try to get into the middle of exactly how the driveway was going to be put together, leave that entirely up to the landowner and his neighbors to sort out what it was. All we really care about is that there's legal physical access to a public road from there, and as long as that's reflected on and borne out by what's on the site plan, materials submitted, everybody's good with it. So we suggested a change of that condition wording to just say the site shall have legal physical access to a public road.
Okay. Okay, then we basically want to approve the homestay and with the condition that there must be legal physical access?
To the roadway. To the roadway.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me make sure I got this right. The motion would be town council is requested to consider, or we're going to approve a resolution for a conditional use permit for a homestay use located at 1307 Boone Drive, tax parcel 133-1-2B-10, with the condition that there must be legal physical access at the roadway. Sound good? Y'all okay with that? Then I make that motion?
No, I got, just so, Mr. Lockley, that annuls the condition that the planning commission stipulated.
Yes, it does, and the council has the ability to, you kind of have the ability to do whatever you want, although the planning commission, of course, as a group of experts, their recommendation carries weight. I know that we, again, me and Ms. Zirkle, as we were trying to think through what would make the most sense so that we're not, to minimize the amount that you're potentially getting into the affairs of a landowner and their neighbors, what do we really care about? What we really care about is there's a driveway that's legally set up that'll get you to and from a public road without driving across somebody else's property. How you sort that out, make sure everybody's happy, that's up to the landowner to figure out. All that we care about is that you can get to and from the public road.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. You hear a second? Okay. I made the motion and Councilman Foster made the second.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Like, I'm trying to remember the ordinance, and Mary, you may be able to answer this. So we have some emails that had concerns about the effect it had on the neighborhood homestay. If there's a problem with it, they can always file a complaint by the ordinance, and then we would review it. How would that work if there was an issue in the homestay?
We would treat that as any other zoning complaint that we have, and there's a process outlined in the homestay section that's included in that. 80805 lays out the enforcement actions where we have a record of those, determine that those are valid, and then proceed. If it's substantiated, then we proceed through that process.
I was just trying to remember, and I appreciate it reminding me of that.
Excuse me. Anything else?
Can he come back and tell us if they have a legal,
Sure.
if that access from the residents to the house?
What's the question?
From the road to the house, is
Right.
there access to that?
Yes, and it was deeded back in 1972. They knew it was not in the right-of-way at that point, and the deed that I sent you shows that. And he can move it, and he finally agreed, that when you interpret the deed, it says, at the owner's expense. So now, I think his tune's being changed a little bit.
Okay.
So he said he's still gonna move it, he wants to put a garage there, is the bottom line,
Okay.
where the existing road is. But I think it's in front of the house, and I have to refer to Mary about, can you put a garage in front of your house?
Without a zoning permit with a sketch that shows me that, I would have to make a determination of where's the front of the house.
Right.
So the question that I want to look at is to get from the dwelling that you're talking about,
Right,
from the road,
Right.
they can make that trip without going on anybody else's property, correct?
part of it is on his property, but there's, again, it's in the deed stating that's what it's used to access that
So that's a
house.
right of way.
No, the right of way is separate. It runs initially off of Boone Drive, it's on the right of way.
Okay.
And then it veers off onto his property, which has been known for 75 years. And like when he purchased the property and he was not aware of that, now he's upset that it does cross his property. But that happens all over our town and county.
And a property that old, I mean, Mr. Boone originally
Correct.
built the house and he had the farm
He
back
owned
there.
both.
And the tenant house, that, the home, your homestead, but it's been in y'all's family for, what, 70-some years?
Yeah, right,
So-
correct.
Yeah, so, but anyway, we're just making the motion to approve that and then y'all work the other part out.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Anything else? You good? You good, Cody?
Okay, you got it.
All right, Darcy.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all members voting aye.
All right, resolution, closing Macon Street to through traffic on a temporary basis. Mr. Warner.
Macon Street is a public right-of-way that provides a connection from 4th Street westward to Baldwin Street. Although it is maintained in accordance with applicable right-of-way standards and portions, primarily in the areas where it is proximal to its intersection with Baldwin and 4th Streets, to date, the middle portion of the road has not been maintained in accordance with the standards of the Virginia Department of Transportation or the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. At various times, the town has provided minimal surface treatment, but conditions of this specific area, particularly a notable increase in standing water and lack of drainage, have rendered this portion hazardous for through traffic. In order to minimize the potential for damage to vehicles and to evaluate appropriate strategies to provide a facility that complies with right-of-way standards, staff is proposing that the portion of Macon Street between its intersection with Rough Drive and proceeding eastward to the property identified as 950 Macon Street be closed to through traffic until such time as an appropriate remediation for this portion is identified by the town. Physical barriers will be installed and maintained by the Public Works Department, which will also accommodate requests for access by owners of adjacent properties who may be impacted by the closure. And just to expand a bit, we've talked about placing a gate with a code that people who need access can get it. And Josh, anyone who needs access can contact Public Works at 587-6081 and we'll work with you. But Josh, I'll make sure we get in touch with you directly. But we do want to make sure that people that do need access still have it. But for the general public who driving vehicles that probably shouldn't be going down that road, we don't want to do that. Tonight, Town Council is requested to adopt the resolution closing Macon Street to through traffic on a temporary basis.
All right, do you hear a motion?
So moved.
Vice Mayor Updike made the motion, second?
Second.
All right. Councilman Evans made the second. Questions, discussion?
My only concern was folks that have an agriculture, especially those that have an agricultural interest. You know, I wouldn't want us to be a barrier for them to do the things that they need to do. So thank you for making those accommodations.
And also, the town maintains the transmission line through there too, so we have to have access.
Yeah, like I said, that was my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Because I used to farm, and I know how it is to get on the main road with a piece of equipment. People just seem, yeah, so yes, I feel for you.
Yes.
Okay, so long as he has access. Good.
You clear on that, Mr. Lyons?
You clear on that?
Lamy.
Oh, you have access?
Yeah, Lamy, excuse me. I can't read the writing here. You okay with that?
Yes,
Okay,
as long
good.
as we can get through there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come up afterwards, I'll tell you what the code is.
Good deal. Thank you. All right, Darcy.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carried with all members voting aye.
Anything else? I don't believe there's any other business to come before council tonight, so the meeting is adjourned. Short and sweet.